Hey, today we're going to be reloading on the Dillon XL650 press. We're going to be making some 9mm shells. I'd like to show you what's going on here. So let's bring the camera over here and I'll show you some of these parts so you know what's going on. Alright. Okay, here's a close-up look at the Dillon XL650. I want to point out a couple of things to you so that you know what we're looking at and what we're working with as we proceed. I'm going to start out with the tool head assembly, which is this aluminum block right here. This houses all of our dies for making the bullets. It has 5 stations on it. Station 1 being this first die. This is where the bullets, or the cases, I should say, enter the shell plate and begin the process of becoming bullets. Station 1 is the resize and deprime die. Station 2 is powder charge, prime, and bell the case. Station 3 is where we verify visually that the correct powder charge is in the shell. Station 4 is the bullet seating die. This is where bullets get seated to the correct depth. And then Station 5 is the crimp die. This is what puts a crimp on the bullet in the case, holds it in place good. We also have this tube right here is connected to the automatic case feeder. This automatically drops cases down the tube to get fed right here onto our shell plate. The shell plate has 5 stations corresponding with the dies above it, and this thing automatically indexes as the lever is moved back into the up position. Right here is where we put our bullets that we have to manually install these onto each case. Then our powder system has a lever here that helps reset the charge for the next case. And boy, I think that's pretty much it. We're about ready to start prepping this thing to get started. Everything is already adjusted for 9mm, so I don't want to go into that. I'll let you guys read the instructions on how to do that because it's kind of a pain. It takes a while to get it dialed in. But the first thing that we have to do now is put our primers in this little primer feeding tube. How we do that is we take our primer flip tray by Dillon. It's very handy. It has a grooved end right here. I don't know if you can really see it, but makes that noise. And then this is a flat end. What we do is we take a box of primers, Winchester or CCI. Never use Federal because they're soft and they can go off inside your primer feeding assembly, which can be very scary. Anyways, what we do is we take these primers, we take the top of our primer flip tray with the groove ends, put them like this. This is the easiest way. Flip them over, and then all of our primers are in there. You can see they're all upside down except for a couple right here, and this is where these grooves come into play. You jiggle it and they automatically flip over. Now we take the other cover for the primer flip tray, put it on, flip it. All of our primers are facing the other direction. And we take this bad boy. This is the worst part about reloading. I hate this. It's so boring. You pick up all 100 of these. And this tube can hold 100. I have multiple tubes, so I can do up to 300 at a time. And having these tubes ready to go for putting more primers into the primer feeding assembly is just the way to go, because if you have to stop, the press comes with 2 tubes, one for large pistol or large primers and small primers, and if you have to stop after you did 100 bullets, then you have to redo this, and you can see how much this sucks. And I'm going to record the whole damn thing so you can feel my pain. One's trying to get away. Alright, so We have 100 of those bad boys in this tube. We're going to move over to the primer feeding assembly, and we're going to drop these bad boys in there. So let me change the angle. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the machine. We are looking at the primer feeding tube that we will install these primers in. This is the gauge that sets off the alarm that lets you know that you have just a few primers left. This is it right here. This thing, the weight, as you use primers, it goes down, and when it taps that bar, it makes that noise. Then you know that you need to put in a new magazine of primers. So what I do is you just stick that thing on there, and there's a little cotter pin. We're going to pull it out, and all the primers will drop into the tube, and they're facing the correct way to be loaded. There they go. They're all out. Visually inspect the tube here, make sure there's nothing in there. Drop this thing, put this little guy in here, and he is now standing way up there. Let's see if I can move the camera. He's all the way up there now, so as that thing drops and gets down to that level again, that'll set off the alarm. Okay, these are the powders that we'll be using. Currently for the 9mm, I've only used Hodgdon HS6 powder, so I know what the charge is for this, but I'm almost out, so I'm going to have to switch to one of these. These are faster burning powders, and they'll require a lot less powder in each shell to make it go. This typically requires about, I put in 6.5 grains. These will probably only need about 4 grains, and there's not as much room to mess around with when you're choosing a charge. I believe the minimum charge is 5.8 to 7.1 for HS6, whereas the tight group might be anywhere from 3.8 to 4.4, so there's not as much room to make adjustments, and also there's not as much room to mess up. So that's why I have this awesome scale from 1964 here. And this bad boy is actually magnetically balanced, you know, so that as this thing levels out, it'll actually stop. Whereas another scale that I have, the thing just goes up and down for, 2 hours until you get your frickin' reading. Drives me nuts, so I don't use it. Maybe one day I'll upgrade to a digital, but, I'd rather spend that money on supplies for reloading. Alright, so this is the powder assembly thing, and this is my powder, Hodgdon HS6. I'm just going to pour it all in here. I probably have enough to make about 100 bullets, or just under 100. Typically one of these bad boys will do, about 1,500 bullets, 1 pound. I forgot how many grains that is, but it's like, I don't know, it's a lot. And typically, when you're using Hodgdon HS6, you can get about 1,700 rounds. I calculated it, but not really for, making adjustments. If you make a heavier load, then you'll get less, but if you make a lighter load, then your powder will last longer. Anyways, I covered this up. Actually, I think we're going to leave it off because the first shell that we always run through here never has the correct amount of powder. It always seems like, because you empty this out when you're done using it. At least I do, so other people let it sit in there. But I empty it out, put it back in the container, and that first one always seems to be off by a little less or a little too much. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a shell that hasn't been processed yet. Still has a primer that's already been spent. These shells they've been processed in the fact that they've been cleaned and whatnot. But I'm going to use this to put powder in it just to check out what the powder level is throwing. And then I'll dump the powder back in the thing. So you just work it like that. And pull out the shell. I don't know if you can see here, but there's powder in here now. What I do now is I'm going to put it on my scale. This is our little powder thing, and you just pour the powder right in there. Make sure it's all out.